So record.
Okay. So welcome. I'm Maggie Gallagher. I'm the Executive Director of the Benedict XVI Institute. Our mission is opening the door of beauty to God. And I don't want to forget to say that our very next event is not by Zoom. It's in Menlo Park at Vallombrosa Retreat. The sculptor Timothy Schmaltz. Timothy, a great sculptor named Timothy who did Homeless Jesus and is going to do, he's working on now Epic Stations of the Cross, which he hopes will be a pilgrimage site across the country. And the crucifixion is going to be in Menlo Park at Vallombrosa. And Archbishop Cordileone will be there, and there'll be a talk and some hospitality afterwards. So that'll be a great event on August 21st. For the proper details, I'll go out in the newsletter this week. So I want to briefly introduce the playwright and the director, Ruth Palileo, who has done two other events, directed one, the play When Malcolm Muggeridge Met Mother Teresa, and then Letters from the Lazaretto of Molokai for our celebration of St. Damien. This is our year for St. Junipero Serra and the American Saints. And the Blessed Father McGivney, we stretching it. It's not all the American Saints, by the way, there are others. And one or two we chose to represent the breadth and the depth of Catholics in American history. One of them was Father Michael J. McGivney, who died, who went to his heavenly reward on this day in 1891, I think, or thereabouts. Is that right, Ruth? Yes. Okay, you're muted, but that's okay. I'm going to get out of the. I want to introduce briefly. Usually, Archbishop Cordileone. Oh, there he. Oh, that's why I didn't see you, Archbishop, because you're not on your. He's named Juan M. Lopez, but I'm.
Yes, it's a long story. But
you made it. That's the most important thing.
It's the lowest thing on your priority list right now with what you're suffering, but my Mac will not connect me to Zoom. And I'm in the most remote northernmost corner of the Archdiocese for the parish feast day. Your noise in the background is the fiesta going on after the Mass. And my cell phone covered just spotty, so I had to use the pastor's computer. So that's why I'm under the name Juan M. Lopez.
Oh, I was afraid that you didn't make it, or that maybe I had gotten it wrong that you were going to be here.
Well,
so
it
that's
took me a
wonderful.
long time because I had to connect to the Wi-Fi here for my iPhone. The Mass went over time, and I had to email the link to Father Juan Manuel and then get into his computer. So at any rate, I joined.
I know you have tech gremlins that follow you around and prevent your communication.
Absolutely.
You keep trying, Kevin.
Absolutely. I need Kevin to exercise those gremlins.
Okay, so in a second, I'd love for you to open us in prayer, but I just want to take a minute to introduce my colleague and dear friend, Kevin Kakvinsky, who is our Director of Mission Advancement, but also Strategic Projects, the guy who made it possible for us to put on Sacra Liturgia and so much else. He was really key in building for the Archbishop the Free the Mass list, which is the list that is now sustaining our ability to communicate with you on the arts and whatever else the Archbishop is doing that you would want to hear about. So Kevin, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here, especially as a Knight of Columbus. I'm really excited for today's event. Thank you so much for your support of the Benedict Institute. We appreciate you.
Okay. Archbishop, can you open us in prayer?
Sure, and thank you all for joining and Maggie for arranging this. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord our God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and learn more about Father McGivney and all the contributions he has made to the church in our country. Inspire us to follow his example of fidelity to your church, that we might know Christ better and share him better with others, that all might know his love and come to eternal salvation. Bless our conversation today. May it glorify you and bring us closer to the heart of your divine Son. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Archbishop. There will be a talk back afterwards, but without further ado, let me introduce the Sons of Columbus.
Actors, places, please, for the top of the show. I'm going to ask our audience members to please turn off your mics at this time. Please mute yourselves. And if possible, if you can also please turn off your video, that will be helpful to our actors. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sons of Columbus. Day 1.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
You have a visitor. You have a visitor. Do you want to see him? Oi! I know this is your good ear. Do you want to see your visitor?
And if I say no, you'll send them in anyway. You come by, the reporters come by, my mom comes by. I'm in jail, for Christ's sakes. I don't want to see anybody, but everybody can come in. I don't want to see my sisters, but yesterday you let them in.
I was only observing the formalities.
Jesus, formalities.
Sweet Jesus, why do I even try? Father, he's all yours.
James Smith.
Who are you?
I'm Father Michael McGivney, James.
Everyone calls me Chip.
Good morning, Chip. I'm Associate Pastor of St. Mary's, and I'm your chaplain. I thought I'd see how you're doing.
I don't know you. Where are you from?
St. Mary's is here in New Haven.
You don't sound like a New Haven guy.
I grew up in Waterbury.
Oh, Waterbury.
But while you're here, while we're both here in New Haven, I will be your priest. You're from Mansonia, aren't you?
Yeah.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. Did they tell you why I'm here, Father? I killed the chief of police.
Did you?
Yeah, in Ansonia. They say I shot him in the stomach, and they tell me he died Monday last, so now I guess I killed him. Took him 5 days to die. I've been here over a week.
Yes, I wanted to visit you when they brought you in, but it was nearly Christmas Eve. This was the soonest I could be here.
Who put you up to this? The cops?
Oh, I stop in to see a lot of the lads here in jail, most days. Everyone's used to me. You're new, that's all.
Why do you see me now? Look all you want at the guy who killed Chief Hayes.
I'm not here to gawk. I'm here for you. Sometimes a man in your position wants to see a priest.
Well, I've seen you now, Father.
I'll see you again tomorrow, Chip.
Day 2.
Good morning, Chip.
Morning.
It's me, Father McGivney.
I know.
Did you sleep all right last night?
I could have used a drink.
Oh, you like the drink.
It helps me sleep. They won't give me any booze, though.
No, they generally do not in prison.
Do you think you could get me any drink, Father? To help me sleep?
I do not.
Suppose not. And they all think the drink's the reason why I killed the chief.
Did you kill the chief, Chip?
Isn't that what I'm telling you? My lawyer told me they'd put me in here for intent to kill. But now that the chief died, I guess it's murder.
Did you intend to kill him, Chip?
I had a revolver, I was firing it, and now he's dead.
You were firing it at him?
No, I wouldn't. Well, I think I was firing it all night. I'd been going from saloon to saloon, you see.
I do. Chip, are you sorry you killed the chief? Are you sorry Chief Hayes is dead?
Who put you up to this? The cops?
I told you nobody put me up to this. It matters to me, though, if you're sorry. If you're sorry, you can be forgiven, and I would like that. God would like that. Your mom would like that.
Did my mom put you up to this?
What did I say, Chip?
Nobody put you up to this.
Would it make you feel better if I said God put me up to this? Because he's the one with the most interest in you.
I'm tired.
Did you not sleep very well last night?
Do you know the kind of tired you get because there's nothing to do?
Not really. I have a very busy parish. There's the Young Men's Total Abstinence and the Literary Guild's new play to oversee. Catechism classes with the little ones just after Christmas. The young lady's sodality wants to buy flowers for Father Murphy because he's sick again.
So why do you come by here if you're so busy?
All the young gentlemen in here matter to me.
Maybe I wouldn't be so tired if I could stretch my legs a bit. It's a small cell.
Are you getting any exercise at all?
You can see yourself the size of the cells. Some of the lads can go outside in the yard together.
True.
Do you think you could get them to let me out to stretch my legs, Father? To help me sleep?
I do not know if I could do that, Chip. I will find out.
I suppose not. Suppose there's not much you can do, is there?
I can pray with you.
I don't think that will help me sleep much at all. Goodbye, Father.
I'll see you again tomorrow, Chip.
Day 3.
Good morning, Chip.
Morning.
Did you sleep all right last night? What kind of plant is that you've got, son?
The green one.
Is it a flowering plant?
Can't you see for yourself? It ain't got flowers.
Well, it is the dead of winter, Chip. Nothing has flowers right now.
Hell of flowers anyway.
Language, Chip.
Do you still want to know whether I'm sorry I killed the chief? I said at the time I was glad to have done my part taking down the law, and I only hoped others in my gang would do their part.
That was then, Chip. I want to know, are you sorry now? Chip, are you sorry Chief Hayes is dead? Who gave you that plant, Chip?
Goodbye, Father.
I'll see you again tomorrow, Chip.
Day 4.
Father, there's no use you're going in there. He's asleep.
Poor boy. He said he was exhausted. Will you let him know that I did stop in to see him? I don't want him to think I wouldn't visit.
I'll let him know, Father.
Day 8.
Father, there's no use you're going in there. He's asleep again.
Poor boy. This whole situation has exhausted him.
Boy, that man shot the chief of police in cold blood.
Surely not, Sheriff.
Don't you read the papers, Father?
I'd rather hear the full story from the men themselves, and Chip hasn't been ready to talk about it yet.
But they'll lie to you. They twist the stories, Father. They're cheats and murderers.
And the papers don't twist things? They don't lie?
They're the free press. It's their job to tell you the truth.
It's their job to sell papers. Let me give you an example. St. Mary's, my parish. Your parish, for that matter. You remember that the New York Times wrote in a headline that the Catholic Church was a blemish on aristocratic Hill House Avenue. The building had burned. Of course it was an ugly sight. What were they expecting? But to them, the whole Church of Rome perpetrates blemishes in New Haven. Yet now the new church we've built on the spot is one of the prettiest buildings on that avenue.
It's a lovely building.
So then they suggested that the parish would continue to be an unprofitable church and deeply in debt.
And that's not true?
Well, to be fair, we are in debt after building the new church. But Sheriff, we're not unprofitable at all if you count the people we've helped. The workers, the orphans, the widows, the funerals that wouldn't happen, and the families that couldn't stay together without our raising the funds for them.
The papers count that too. They report every funeral you preside over, Father.
And they spell my name incorrectly 75% of the time. Mcgiveny. It looks French instead of Irish. Those sort of errors in the telling are why I want to hear Chip's story from Chip when he's ready to tell me.
Well, there's only so many ways you can tell a story, Father. You can't change the facts. Fact, the chief of police of Ansonia is dead. Fact, he died of a gunshot wound to the stomach. Fact, the gun that matched the bullet was a revolver.
Father Costello, who was called in that night, told me they couldn't retrieve the bullet from the chief's stomach to check the match. It was buried too deep.
Fact, the gun Chip Smith was carrying that night was a revolver. Fact, Chip Smith's revolver had been fired 3 times. Fact, Chief Hayes tried to arrest Chip for drunk and disorderly because he was fact drunk and fact waving said revolver around in a disorderly manner. You can't change any of those facts, Father.
Do you think the poor boy's awake now from all your hollering?
I don't care if he's awake. He killed an officer of the law. Last week, Chief Hayes' 4-year-old son died of a wasting illness. His widow, Sarah, is, not surprisingly, dangerously ill herself. Go pray over another one of the inmates today, one who didn't ruin the lives of an entire family.
Will you tell him I called by? I don't want him to think I wouldn't visit him.
Fact. Witnesses said when they told Chip he'd probably killed the chief, he said he was glad.
Fact. Witnesses said the chief had his revolver out when he arrested Chip.
And what do you mean by that?
That there was more than one revolver fired that night.
Day 12.
Father, there's no use you're going in there. He's asleep again.
Oh, let him know that I stopped by. I don't want him to think I wouldn't visit.
I'll let him know, Father.
Keep going, for Christ's sakes.
You'll have to see him one of these days.
Day 16.
What happened in court yesterday, Sheriff?
The court met and reported a bill against Chip Smith for murder in the first degree. On the advice of Timothy J. Fox, his lawyer, Smith did not plead to the indictment.
So he'll stand trial for murder.
Exactly.
I'll go in and see him now.
He's...
Sleep again.
Leave him alone, Father. Wouldn't you spend your last days away if you knew they were going to end in a noose? The court was unanimous. It's murder in the first degree. That's a hanging crime.
But we haven't hung anyone in 20 years.
Nobody's ever killed the chief of police.
They haven't even put him on trial yet.
Formalities.
Chip! Chip! You can't sleep through life! O Sacred Heart, O love divine.
Keep your voice down.
Well, it's not like anyone else is sleeping. It's nearly noon. Do keep us near to thee,
Father,
and make our hearts so like to
Father,
thine, that we may holy be. Heart of Jesus,
Father.
here. Oh, heart of love.
Why are you singing, Father?
Well, I didn't want to wake you up rudely, but I thought it was high time you woke up and faced this like a man.
I went to court yesterday. It all made me so tired.
Oh, well done for getting out of bed for court, but there's still your trial to face.
I heard what the sheriff was saying about how my trial would go. Why bother?
Well, your plant is dying. I noticed yesterday when I came to see you, but I didn't want to disturb your sleep. Shall I get some water for your plant?
My plant?
Yes. Just because you've given up doesn't mean you should condemn the plant to dying for lack of water. Don't you agree?
I suppose so.
Somebody who loves you gave you that plant. Is that not so?
I suppose.
And while you're watering your plant, maybe you could talk to me for a few minutes.
Fine, but will you stop the singing?
Hey, I have stopped. Now, we'll talk while you water your plant and ensure it lives to see another day.
You are a rare one, Father.
Day 33.
I think the singing was the final straw.
Desperate times called for desperate measures, Sheriff. Now he knows that if he just talks to me and lets me know how he's doing, I'll leave pretty quickly.
He's afraid you'll burst into song again.
Well, I did have to do it a few times before I broke him of the habit of pretending to be asleep.
Sometimes he hums that hymn when we let him out for exercise.
I do appreciate your taking my suggestion that you walk him up and down the corridors for exercise. He's only a young man and he needs to stretch his legs a bit.
That's fine, Father.
I know I'm not to promise them anything because we never want them to think that the chaplain can get them favors. But I do want to be their champion as well as their chaplain.
You are, Father.
And about that, Sheriff?
Oh, what is it now?
Must you only walk him when everyone else is locked up and asleep?
Myself or Deputy Higgins must walk with him and be sure he speaks to no one. He's a murderer in the first degree and he must be treated separately from the other prisoners.
He hasn't been convicted. Sheriff, will you just once let me walk with Chip?
No, Father.
May I walk along with you both one time then? Tonight?
And if I say no, Father?
I'll sing again.
It's your funeral, Father.
Days 34 to 112.
Jesus, Sheriff, could you walk any faster? You're so slow in walking backwards, so I am.
The boy's got a point, Sheriff. Could you pick up the pace? Chip, how is your plant doing?
Still green.
Day 113. The three are walking up and down the corridor outside the cell. This time, Chip is first, then Father McGivney and Sheriff Bixby far in the rear.
Slow down, son. Take it easy. You're not going anywhere anyway.
You are a rare one, Father.
I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget to water that plant. Has it any flowers?
No flowers, Father.
Well, it's only just spring. It's early days. Until tomorrow, Chip.
The trial's tomorrow, Father. I'll be in court in the morning.
Then I shall be by to see you in the evening.
Day 114.
Good evening, Sheriff.
Father, there's no use you're going in there. He's asleep already.
Dare I ask how it's going?
Put forth by the defense. Father Costello was called to the bedside the night of the shooting. He said Chief Hayes asked him to take the police revolver out of the chief's pocket and secure it.
Didn't I tell you that's what Father Costello said?
Fact. Hayes' revolver was also found to have been fired once, and witnesses say it was while the chief and Chip were fighting over both revolvers. Now, Chip's revolver had been fired 3 times. John Fogarty, the barman, says Chip fired the revolver once inside his saloon, once outside the saloon. Mary Smith, Chip's mom, claims she heard Chip fire one shot as he walked away from her at the gate of the hoop skirt factory.
But this is hopeful. Couldn't the chief have shot himself while they were struggling?
Meanwhile, James Dermody and the Ryan boys said they heard Chip's revolver clicking past empty chambers, and he was so drunk he was confused by this.
But this could be hopeful also. Maybe he was too drunk to fire properly.
Maybe you're right, Father. But I think everybody believes he did shoot the chief because after the chief cried, "Help, I'm shot," Chip said he was glad.
Day 117.
Good evening, Sheriff. 4 days into the trial.
It's the final day, Father. Guilty of murder in the first degree.
But on my way here, the papers, I thought there was still some discussion.
You oughtn't trust the papers, Father. Now, I was there. In fact, I was there to lock and unlock the jury room. Judge told them that if Smith knew what he was doing, the jurors must call it murder in the first degree, for it was premeditated. But if he was so intoxicated that he knew nothing about what he was doing, then it was murder in the second degree. I let the jurors out after their first deliberation, and they asked the judge, was there time to conceive a willful, premeditated purpose to kill? Exactly half of them think there wasn't time, therefore it wasn't premeditated. So they're deadlocked. But judge rules that they must break the deadlock. So I locked them back into the jury room. Not 15 minutes after that, they bring in the verdict. They'll be sentencing him tomorrow.
My God.
Day 126.
Have a seat, Father.
Glad I am to see you, Chip.
Glad I am to see you, Father. I suppose you've heard. It's to be the 5th of May, a week from now. Judge said I left Chief Hayes' daughter as fatherless. Judge said I made the chief's wife a widow. Judge said it was the drink and the shame I never learned the value of temperance. Judge said, may God have mercy on me.
I will be here with you, Chip. I promise I will be here every day.
Day 133.
Sheriff, when's Father coming? I want to be the one to give him the news.
That's him now.
It's glad I am to see you, Chip.
It's glad I am to see you, Father. They've accepted the motion in error. So there will be a new trial, Father.
I'd heard, and the court will not sit to trial until December.
Do you think maybe I didn't mean to shoot him after all?
Chip.
I just don't remember, Father. I don't remember wanting to kill anyone. I just remember telling all the lads that I'd failed again at getting a job and I wished I were dead.
Chip.
I wish I were dead still. When the chief was clubbing me with his billy while we were fighting, I remember thinking that he couldn't do anything worse to me than kill me.
But just now you seemed happy that there's a chance to commute this to a life sentence, maybe.
I don't know, Father. I just never know for sure how I feel about life. Father, will you tell me again about the lads around Jesus?
The apostles?
Yeah, his gang.
They weren't a gang, but yes, Chip, I will.
Day 161.
Good morning, Chip.
Good morning, Father.
Did you sleep well last night?
I did. And yourself, Father? You look a bit tired.
Well, I must say, Chip, I woke even earlier this morning than usual, well before Mass. You see, it's been 18 years now since my father died on this date, and I miss him still.
Your father died?
Yes, while I was away at seminary. I came back to Waterbury for the funeral, and I was certain I'd have to return to working at the spoon factory to support my mother and sisters.
And did you have to work at the factory? I tried to get work at a factory in Waterbury, and all sorts of factories in Ansonia.
That's right, Chip. I remember you telling me. No, by God's grace, the Bishop of Hartford found the money so I could stay in seminary.
Wish I knew, Bishop.
Are you thinking of being a priest, Chip?
No. But maybe if I'd known a bishop, he'd have helped me get the job at the factory. Or maybe he'd have found money for me to help my family. Or maybe he'd have prayed for me and my family.
True enough. Shall I pray for you now?
That'll be better than the bishop, Father.
Chip, sometimes I hear the confessions of the other lads, and sometimes the sheriff lets me say the mass for them, and if they've gone to confession, I can bring our Lord to them.
Is that so, Father?
It is. You were baptized in the Catholic Church, weren't you, Chip?
Yes, Father.
Well, maybe you'd like me to hear your confession and bring the Holy Eucharist to you.
Maybe.
Day 191.
So I'm standing in left field, and I don't know what I was thinking, but the ball lands right at my feet. I was looking at the ball the whole time, yet somehow never saw it coming until it landed. I never saw the pitcher pitch it, never saw the batter bat it, never saw it until it fell right at my feet. And that is how the other team scored. Oh, you like baseball, Sheriff?
Not like you, Father. It's still a new game, and I'm not sure I understand all the rules.
Chip?
I may have played a few games in the street, Father.
What are you, catcher? Pitcher?
No, not me. I couldn't pitch a ball. I have terrible aim.
Oh.
Father, do you pitch?
Actually, I am pretty good at bat.
How good?
When I am at bat, my team usually wins. I'll see you tomorrow, Chip.
Good night, Father.
Day 222.
Face on you, Father.
Chip, my heart is heavy.
Somebody die?
It may as well have done.
Will you tell me about it, Father?
Shall I? May I unburden myself to you?
You want my advice?
I'm terribly angry at one of my parishioners, Chip.
You, Father?
Yes, he's broken the heart of his wife and daughter.
A piece on the side, Father.
That's what I thought at first, when his wife came to me with her woes.
I wasn't actually sure you'd know what I meant by that expression, Father.
I do hear numerous daily confessions, Chip.
At any rate, you thought it was a piece.
His wife said he was sneaking out at night. He wouldn't tell her where he was going. He would say he was at one saloon, and it would be a lie. She ran into him on Main Street with friends she'd never seen before. Once, he came home with blood on his collar and shoes.
And it wasn't a piece.
No, I've had it all out of him. It's the Forresters.
Annie and Maggie Forrester, the twins? The dog!
No, Chip. The Order of Forresters. They're ostensibly a benevolent fraternity that provides life insurance to the families of members who pass away. But they are part of something more sinister, I feel. These other secret societies, the Freemasons, the Oddfellows, the Shriners, do not take faithful Catholic men as members.
Father, if you know all these names, what makes it a secret society?
It's a secret where they meet and what they do in their meetings.
I think secrets make lads want to figure them out. Like my dad, when I'd ask him what he was drinking, he said, I'd find out in time. I could just hardly wait to have my first drink. And another guy in my gang, it was always the girls. I mean, he didn't have any sisters, so he's always wanting to meet girls and ferret out more about them. Even though they already have something pure and simple right in front of them, they can't resist looking.
Suppose that's true. You're saying that because these organizations don't take Catholics, the Catholic men want to find out more about them. I thought perhaps they were seduced by all the monetary assistance these organizations offer to their members and their families if something happens, and by the power many of these men and these Lodges hold prominent positions in this town.
All of that sounds good at the beginning. And my first pint always looked so refreshing.
Maybe that's what entices good Catholic men to join. But why do they stay? They get in deep and they realize they have to promise to renounce their faith or physically harm their wives or give their children over to the devil.
What?
Do you know one of these orders initiates a man by tying a cord around his neck and tightening it until he's nearly hanged?
Will your parishioner be all right, Father?
I think so. Now that he's back in the fold, so to speak. I wish there were a way to stop men from joining those societies. They just take for granted all the good they already have.
Like my favorite hymn, Father. Their hearts are ungrateful and forgetful.
What, him?
Ungrateful hearts, forgetful hearts, the hearts of men have been.
Oh,
You taught it to me.
so I did.
Seems to me you could just get them together every once in a while so they not forget how much they love God.
That's what the Mass is supposed to do.
And if you got them together often enough, they'd not forget they have each other. Like a gang.
I can't form a gang of parishioners.
Why not? I like gangs. I always felt more myself when I had the lads around me. Couldn't you at least ask your parishioners if they want to form their own gang?
I suppose there's something in that. I'll see you tomorrow.
Day 284.
Good morning, Father. How's your meeting last night?
Well, the coffee was terrible, but the men were enthusiastic. About 80 of us met in the basement of St. Mary's. Some of them shared their concern about brothers or nephews or cousins in organizations where no other members were Catholic. Others talked about how they worried about their families and wanted a group to provide insurance if something happens, like when my father died. I've been reading a lot about insurance and about Catholic benevolent organizations.
So do you think they'll be in your gang for you?
Chip, you persist in calling it a gang.
It's a simpler word than the ones you use.
Benevolent fraternal organization?
What is fraternal again?
Brotherly.
And benevolent?
Well, in this case, it means there are insurance benefits for the members.
And an organization is like a society. Although when you call it a society, it always makes me think there have to be women involved. Speaking of which, Father, did you decide what you're going to call this organization?
The Sons of Columbus.
There's a nice ring to it. Who's Columbus?
The Italian who found this great country of ours. He was Catholic. I want all of our men to be proud that the Catholics have always been a part of America, despite what the Protestants in this town may have to say. Catholics are worthy of American citizenship.
Are you sure you're not setting up a gang to fight the secret societies? Or possibly the Protestants?
I'm sure, Chip. Well, we may fight a spiritual war, but we're not going to be brawling in the streets.
Yes, Father.
At least I hope not.
Day 367.
The trial has been delayed again. This time until March, I hear.
You heard correctly, Father.
And dozens of people are writing to the newspapers that you're a good, quiet boy when you haven't been drinking.
True enough, Father.
Merry Christmas, Chip.
Merry Christmas. Father, he's dead here now. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Chief Hayes isn't there to have Christmas with his wife and daughters. I'm so sorry. So very, very sorry. So very sorry.
instead of a
Day 407.
Morning, Father. Is your cold any better?
Thank you for asking, Chip. Yes, I'm feeling much better. I don't think the air in Massachusetts agreed with me.
How did your meeting go last night?
The men are still enthusiastic. They asked me to chair the meeting, which I was glad to do. I told them what I'd found out about the Massachusetts Catholic Order of Foresters, the Catholic Benevolent League, and other Catholic alternatives to secret societies. They didn't like how the Foresters referred to each other as Ranger Chip or Ranger Michael. So we've resolved to form a purely original organization to be called the Knights of Columbus.
Not the Sons?
Well, Knights was suggested by James Mullen, and it appealed to the Civil War veterans in the group.
Like King Arthur's Knights?
Yes. Well, one of them said that this was a new knighthood that would protect the faith, family finances, and the civil and religious rights of Catholics.
That's how these gentlemen talk?
Some of them.
Well, full of beans, that's for sure. Too bad they didn't like your son's name, Father.
Knights of Columbus has a nice ring. Mullen also volunteered to work out all the secret details, the passwords, the hierarchies, the degrees, the ceremonies. So long as they put all of this in front of my bishop and keep in line with the church, I'm happy. Tomorrow, Chip.
Tomorrow, Father.
Day 411.
Good morning, Father. How's your day yesterday?
Chip, I was in court.
Who did you kill, Father? I'm only joking.
There was a young gentleman still in seminary, and his father died.
Like yourself?
Like myself. And they were going to take him away from his family and start him working.
Like you were afraid might happen.
As I was afraid might happen. But I was able to find a parishioner willing to vouch financial support for him so that he can stay with his family and finish school.
Like the bishop did for you.
Precisely. And this is exactly the sort of thing that I know the Knights can do for many widows, for many orphans.
I think you're onto something, Father. Will you please bring me water for my plant?
How is your plant, Chip?
Green, big leaves.
But no flowers?
No flowers. It's only February.
Right enough.
See you tomorrow, Father.
Day 435.
Only a short notice about commuting Chip's sentence in the paper today, Father. Says Chip's likely to have better luck than his victim. Sounds optimistic to me.
I don't know. It sounds somewhat sarcastic to me.
I've already had better luck than poor Chief Hayes. I'm alive after all. Father, will you be saying Mass this week?
I will.
Will you hear my confession?
Indeed I will, Chip. Indeed I will.
Day 447.
Sheriff, when's Father coming? I want to be the one to give him the news.
That's him now.
It's glad I am to see you, Chip.
Glad I am to see you, Father. You've heard?
I'd heard.
Day 448.
This is what the Morning Journal and Courier wrote, Father. The House did its plain duty yesterday in voting not to commute Chip Smith's sentence.
Their primary duty is mercy, Sheriff. Chip, never forget that the citizens of Ansonia spoke for you. Chief Hayes' wife and daughter spoke on your behalf.
You did. Please, Your Honor, if you don't mind, Your Honor, this Chip Smith fellow's awful young. Surely the youth of this poor boy must be taken into account. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this poor boy doesn't really seem to know what's going on. How can we hang someone who seems half-witted when there are plenty of murderers with their full wits about them who'll probably be pardoned?
Chip, you reek of alcohol. What did you give him?
It was just one shot of whiskey.
What were you thinking?
The boy just learned he's still going to hang, Father. The lawyers made it seem like he'd be reprieved, pardoned, commuted, and now it's back to this.
How could you give him whiskey?
I am the sheriff of this jail, and as such, I make the rules.
Father, it's all right.
What do you mean it's all right? We know lack of temperance is what drove you to kill in the first place. You were out of your mind.
Father, even when I'm bedivilled with drinkers now, I'm still a better man than I was. I take what the sheriff did as a last kindness to me, and I thank him. But I swear to you, I will not be touching the drink anymore.
I do believe you, son.
Will you hear my confession now, Father?
Of course. Though 'tis the sheriff who should be doing the confessing.
Day 462.
Good morning, Father.
A good morning indeed, Chip.
Has something particularly good happened?
Well, my friend, the Connecticut legislature met yesterday and they granted our charter. The Knights of Columbus are a legal corporation.
I thought they were a benevolent fraternal organization.
We are that now too.
Fair play to you, Father. Fair play.
Thank you, Chip. I'll see you tomorrow.
Day 466.
Good morning, Father. How was your meeting last night?
The food was excellent and the men enthusiastic. 24 of them for our first induction of our first council.
What else did you do besides enjoy a lovely meal?
I can't tell you, Chip. You're not a knight. Besides, I find all the titles and degrees and rights a little high-strung. The bishop looked it all over, though, so I'm satisfied. I'm looking forward to the time when we have dozens of councils.
There are dozens of parishes in Connecticut, Father.
There are 53, Chip. I've written to all their pastors this past week the same letter over and over, urging them to stand against the secret societies with one of our own and outlining our simple goals. To unite the men of our faith throughout the Diocese of Hartford that we may gain strength to aid each other in time of sickness, to provide for decent burial, and to render pecuniary assistance to the families of deceased members of the Knights.
After 53 times, it's no surprise you have the words down pat.
True enough. I'll see you tomorrow.
Day 527.
The face on you, Father. What is it this time? The parish debt? Parish fair? Choir? Sisters? Pastor ill again?
It's the Knights, Chip. Our beginning is extremely slow. It's been 2 months since I've written every priest in Connecticut, and yet not one council has formed. This order I've attempted to establish is falling back lifeless.
But it's not dead, Father. It's not dead.
Day 597.
Today is my 30th birthday, Chip.
Happy birthday, Father. You'll pardon my not having a present for you, being as I can't really go down to the shops.
You're forgiven.
Without even having to go to confession?
Precisely. You might pray for the Knights, though, Chip. I'd appreciate if you do that for my birthday.
What do the Knights need from me?
Trust from their pastors. Some of these priests have accused the Knights of being exactly the sort of secret society that the church is against. As if the Knights were anything like the Masons or the Oddfellows. Come to think of it, perhaps you might pray for those pastors.
So you're 30, Father. That's not much older than me. I'm 22 this year.
8 years can be a big difference, Chip.
One of the ladies that writes me sometimes is 8 years older than I am.
How did you find that out, Chip? You're never supposed to ask a woman her age.
She just told me we shared the same birthday. But she knew from the newspaper that she was 8 years older than I was.
Are there a lot of ladies writing you, Chip?
Kitty, Jenny, Marielle, Lizzie K, Marianne, Julia B, Lizzie H, Mary W, Lizzie S, Julia S, Louise, and Julia C.
Like, those are the girls of the choir.
They write and say they're praying for me. The lady who's 8 years older than me is not in the choir. Also, she's married.
Chip, how do you manage to write them all?
I don't have much else to do but write, Father. Also, I write the same letter over and over.
And after 12 or 13 times, it's no wonder you have it down pat.
Indeed. Will I have to go to confession now?
No, but the married lady might.
Happy birthday, Father. God bless you.
Thank you, Chip. I'll see you tomorrow.
Day 610.
Oh, Sheriff. Do you ever have anything to say to me today?
No, but there's a lady's plea for Chip Smith.
Is there?
Shall I read it to you?
Sure.
A lady's plea for Chip Smith. I have noticed in one of the papers that a death watch has been placed over Chip Smith. For 20 years, but one person has been hanged in Connecticut. The gallows, with all its frightful trappings, is a relic of barbarism and should be dispensed with. Surely imprisonment for life would meet all the demands of justice and obviate the necessity of another murder for the one committed. I plead for Chip's life on the basis of consistency. Crazed with liquor, on the impulse of the moment, while struggling with Chief Hayes, he shot him.
She's a good writer. Crazed with liquor.
She's a rare one. She goes on to describe a lot of other murderers who are a lot worse than you. Do you want me to skip to the next part about you?
Go on.
All of these cases are more hideous than that of poor Smith. He is a mere boy in years, and when not under the influence of liquor, quiet and inoffensive. She writes as if she knows you.
I suppose.
I still hope that something will be done to avert the awful spectacle arranged for the coming Friday, Mrs. C.B. Do you know her, Chip?
If I did, Sheriff, 'twouldn't do to tell you. That was an awfully sweet letter.
It sure was.
The lights dim as stage left, Sheriff Bixby and stagehands erect an altar in front of Chip's cell so that when he looks out through the bars, he can see it. Day 612.
The altar the sheriff and the deputy built looks well, Father.
It does. Now, where's your plant? I thought we should place it in front of the altar.
You mean Charlotte?
I will not call a plant Charlotte.
Not even at the request of a condemned man?
Gallows humor, Chip?
Charlotte's heading for a better place, Father.
Is that a joke?
More gallows humor, Father. I'll tell you more about the plan tomorrow. Meanwhile, a simple altar is good enough for me.
How many more choir members do you expect me to let in, Father?
There will be 18 choir members and 7 altar boys.
And the Sisters of Charity are already here.
Yes. They're always early.
There also seem to be a dozen young ladies who I don't know, but they do have a note signed by you.
Chip has been a good example to more people than you realize.
And apparently a good correspondent.
Pray for me, Sheriff.
He's a good boy, Sheriff, a good lad.
Yes, but you know, Father, when they obligingly printed your announcement in the newspaper that this service was going to be very private.
This is very private. It's just the choir, the altar boys, the sisters, Chip's family, and some parishioners.
It's every single person with a handwritten note from you, Father.
Well, after all, how many handwritten notes can one man sign?
I'll eat my hat if there aren't 150 people here by the time Mass begins. Oh, speaking of eating, Chip, what was it you wanted for your last meal?
Chicken, please, Sheriff.
Chicken.
And could I please have an ice cream?
Ice cream? Of course, Chip, of course. You do know our jails are overcrowded, don't you, Father?
There'll be one spot open soon, Sheriff.
The lighting changes as Father McGivney quietly prepares and then begins the motions of a high mass in total silence. Then,
Heart of Jesus here, O heart of love divine, listen to our prayer, make us always thine. I am requested by Mr. Smith to ask pardon for all faults he may have had and all faults he may have committed. At his request, I ask for the prayers of all of you, that when next Friday comes, he may die a holy death. And now, my brothers and sisters, I ask you to pray for everyone who will be a part of the execution, myself included. To me, this duty comes with an almost crushing weight. If I could consistently with my duty be far away from here next Friday, I should escape perhaps the most trying ordeal of my life. But this sad duty is placed in my way by Providence, and it must be fulfilled.
Day 614, Sheriff Bixby and Father McGivney are reading the newspaper, heads together and backs to Chip.
Council endeavored today to get Lieutenant Governor Bulkley to grant a reprieve, Governor Bigelow not having returned from Europe.
The Lieutenant Governor denied the request on the ground that he had no power to grant it?
That is true. Only the governor can grant a pardon.
All over on a technicality.
I'll break the news to him.
Day 617.
Sheriff?
Yes, Chip.
Thanks for moving me to a larger room for my last night.
You're welcome, Chip.
What's the Journal and Courier have to say today?
Well, the editor says that calling attention to the need for tree planting in various parts of the country has had a good effect.
Does he indeed?
He says that this has resulted in 93,000 acres of trees being planted in Kansas.
What's the use of trees in Kansas to guys like us?
You're right about that, Chip.
Is there anything in there about me, Sheriff? Go on, Sheriff.
Chip Smith is to be hung today. It is not surprising that many in this community think it unjust to hang Smith when there are several worse criminals in the prison at Wethersfield who expect to be pardoned someday. There is nothing very consistent or impressive about capital punishment in this state.
Geez, Sheriff. I think the editor is finally taking a liking to me.
I think he is, son. Here's Father now.
Good morning, Chip.
Good morning, Father.
How did you sleep last night?
My posh room? Quite well.
Chip, only you would call the poor debtor's room posh.
It's posher than my jail cell, Father.
True.
Thank you for saying one last mass for me, Father.
No choir today, Chip.
That's all right, Father.
'Tis just you and me, son.
You'll have to sing the hymn, Sheriff. I'm only joking.
Sheriff Bixby lets Father McGivney into Chip's cell. A beat and the two men kneel. Then Sheriff Bixby leads Chip off stage and out to a tree. After a beat, we see them through the window. Father McGivney takes one moment to stay kneeling at the altar and draw strength from the Eucharist. Still in the tabernacle, then he too exits to stand by the tree.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sheriff Bixby of New Haven County Jail. It is now 10:15 a.m., and I shall read the prisoner his death warrant, as is his right. To the Sheriff of New Haven County, Connecticut, greetings. At the March term, Anno Domini 1881 of District Court for the 3rd Judicial District of Connecticut, James Smith, alias Chip, was duly convicted of the crime of murder in the 1st degree, and on the 5th of May, Anno Domini 1881, the judgment and sentence of said court were pronounced against James Smith, alias Chip, upon said conviction according to the law, whereby the said James Smith was judged and sentenced to be hanged by the neck until dead by the sheriff of said county of New Haven. Therefore, you, the sheriff of said county of New Haven, are hereby commanded that on Friday, the 1st day of September, Anno Domini 1882, pursuant to the said judgment and sentence of said court, you take the said James Smith from the county jail of the county of New Haven, where he is now confined, to the courtyard, and there, between the hours of 10 o'clock a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m. of said day, you hang the said James Smith by the neck until he is dead, and make due return of your acts hereunder. It is signed and sealed by Governor Bigelow of the state of Connecticut.
Through this holy anointing, may the Lord in his love and mercy help you with the grace of the Holy Spirit. May the Lord who frees you from sin save you and raise you up. Amen. May God open to you the gates of paradise and welcome you to everlasting joy.
Have you anything to say, Mr. Smith?
Son, Chip, James.
Please step away from the platform now, Father. Go back inside.
No, I will stay with him.
But I am going to put the noose and cap on him now, and then, well, Deputy Higgins will pull the lever of the trap from within the jail.
Father, do not fear for me. I must not break down now.
No, by God, I will stay with you.
Then I'll be able to meet death without a tremor.
It is 10:30 a.m.
Chip drops and hangs. He dangles there. A bell begins to toll. It is later in the day. Father McGivney is sitting in the jail and staring straight ahead. Sheriff Bixby is at the window, looking out at the courtyard.
Over 200 witnesses. Everyone wants to witness a hanging, especially the first one in 20 years. They'll put all our names in the paper tomorrow. The deputy sheriffs came in from every county. That's some kind of a record. When they're all gone, Father, you can go home and rest. Dr. Lindsley, he's the jail physician, you know, called the time of death at 10:48 a.m. We took him down not even 20 minutes after the drop. It was that quick. Oh, and you'll be glad to hear about this part, Father. When Dr. Lindsley opened his jacket to check his pulse, a Sacred Heart badge was pinned to Chip's shirt. And his features were perfectly at rest, Father. That means he didn't struggle. He went to his death like a man.
He was just a boy. It was a lad. I don't want to hear your report, Sheriff. I don't want to hear your damned report.
All right, Father. Take some time. Calm yourself down. Father, I nearly forgot.
What is it now, Sheriff?
Chip bequeaths this to you, the plant in his cell, which is now blooming.
Charlotte.
No, Chip, the man we just hanged.
No, Sheriff, the plant's name is Charlotte. He said she was in a better place now. And God rest his soul. I believe Chip is now too.
Okay, everyone unmute yourself, and let's have a big round of applause for Sons of Columbus and our company. Yeah, we do. Wow, that was wonderful.
Bravo.
Archbishop, standing ovation there. Thank you. Archbishop, maybe you could start us. What did you take from this? What jumped out for you?
Yeah.
Well, some people
What's
need
that?
to mute themselves again. Did we lose the Archbishop?
Well, I'm drawing it up.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay, good.
Just the amazing way that Father McGivney brought out the goodness that was buried so deep inside of Chip, and how persevering he was, being with him so consistently all throughout. And we saw him beginning to change when he started focusing on others rather than himself. You know, here he's facing a death sentence, and he's asking Father McGivney about the formation of the Knights and how that is going. And he begins to think about others. And it's amazing total transformation of his character. So that sense of being able to tap into the goodness of even, a serious criminal such as him. And also there's kind of an implicit side story here about a very heavy topic of consideration of the death penalty, and the kind of people even back then who saw its cruelty and its sort of antiquated approach to addressing crime and punishment in the time. So it's can elicit a whole nother conversation too on that point. So it's truly very inspiring. And even the relationship with the sheriff, they bring out a reconciliation there, and they end up, kneeling together as brothers at the Mass at the end. It's quite a powerful story of redemption and reconciliation.
Thank you, Archbishop. Ruth, I think we would have to tell people that the details of this, the Father McGivney did not write. He left almost no writings in his own. So there's a number of newspaper coverage, obituary coverage in the historical record. But to a great extent, this was you had a lot of freedom, therefore, to try to come up with a play based on these historical facts that would reveal the heart of the priest. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you went around thinking about this? And then we'd get to introducing the really fine actors who brought it to life.
Thanks, Maggie. Thank you, Archbishop. So I'm an old news hound. I started writing as a journalist for the Chicago Tribune, and I didn't do it for very long, but I love digging through newspapers. So literally when Maggie and the Benedict Institute reached out to me, and Maggie sent me 2 newspaper clippings. The obituary reported in the New York Times. I think that was the first one. And then another newspaper clipping about the Chip Smith decision. So that decision where a judge forces a deadlocked jury to make a decision is actually, they named it after Chip. And so she sent me those 2 things, and I went and I dug and I read more. I read a lot of newspaper articles and clippings about Father, down to where I realized, why wasn't I finding so much? And I misspelled his name deliberately to see what turned up there, and found that very often the New Haven papers really misspelled his name. And then I set myself this game. Another Catholic author I know does this for his novels, Tim Powers. He'll do it for the length of a novel, but I said, okay, I cannot vary from the history. So what I find in the newspapers, I will stick to. But who are those people around the history? So that's why we count down the days. And if you see the script, the days are actually synced to the days when the newspapers either reported this, because they reported when the Knights of Columbus were formed, because Father asked the newspaper to report it so that they could get more members. So Father McGivney was he's such an incredible administrator. He really did know it. There were 53 parishes, and he just kept track of all that, but they didn't keep a lot of his writing. It was only like 13 pieces of writing. And I tried to put some of his language in there. And so some of the language you hear, especially when he is bemoaning about the Knights to Chip, that's a little postcard that he wrote to another priest. And I just wrote so that the exchange is between Father's words, and then Chip says to him, but it's not dead yet. And Father wrote this to another priest. It's not dead yet, but he was really, really crushed that it was taking the Knights so long to take off. So that was my process. Thank you again for this assignment, Maggie. It was great to get.
Ruth, you're just such a gift. I mean, I think we attracted you by one of our artist retreats, and then you become a pillar of the creative community here. And I think I told you when we had the idea of taking 3 different historical writers' visions of the leper colony at Molokai to sell the Feast of St. Damien. He was our first American saint. And then I saw what you did with it. It's really challenging to take 3 excerpts from essays and make it feel like it's got a beginning, a middle, and a dramatic end. And the productions you do are of very high quality. And so we should do a meeting just with you sometime, because I was looking over your biography and I'm like, what is an immersive feast of St. Thomas Aquinas, which you did in 2018?
And they still do it every year in Vegas.
Oh, really? What is that?
It's a full feast that the audience joins in the feast, because there's dinner theater here in Las Vegas where you can do dinner is murder, or marriage is murder, or whatever they do. But this is a feast of St. Thomas Aquinas, and we celebrate his life, but we have entertainment during the meal. It's to raise funds for our Newman Center on UNLV's campus, which they want to build a church someday rather than simply be a center. So that's my little shout out. We love to have
and then there was something about Joss Whedon and a sing-along blog. What is that?
So Dr. Horrible's sing-along, Joss Whedon did like the Marvel Avengers, and he did Serenity, which is one of my favorite shows. And there was a writer's strike, so he and a group of his friends did like basically what we're doing on Zoom right now. They did this thing that was a blog between 4 characters. Literally, it kind of looked like what we just did for all of you. And then my group, we turned it around and readapted it to a stage play, and then we performed it on stage. So everything was very meta.
That's wonderful. We have to wave a quick farewell to Archbishop Corleone, who is Juan M. Lopez. He just messaged me that he needs to go, but thank you so much, Archbishop. It's always a great treat to be with you and to hear your thoughts, and be able to show the work to you too, I think. So everyone's going to have a lot of questions. So let me get out of the way and ask you to say a few words about the 3 fine actors, introduce them. The only thing I want to say is why I checked in with my son, Joseph Bissex, and he said, oh yes, He's a great drama teacher, and I really enjoyed being in his show. I think it was called Scoop, he said. So his last name, my married name is Srivastava. So my son, Srivastava, was in your class.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of shows. He was great.
He was a bit of a troublemaker, I think. But anyway, he really appreciated you. So, Ruth, can you do the introductions of your actors?
Let's bring on our 3 actors. So we have, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can introduce, I'm like so moved. I'm still in the place. So actually I'll ask the 3 of you to hop online and maybe introduce yourselves. I just got a little, it's a very hard story. So you're,
Joseph, do you want to, Joseph, can you, Father McGivney?
And James,
why don't you start, Joseph, and say a few words about yourself?
There he goes.
Sure thing. I'm a teacher and actor, director, and I love theater. I especially love to see the effort and the talent and creativity that's being put into creating works of art that are good works of art and based in a good sense of a strong sense of Catholicism. And it was wonderful to meet Ruth and James when I was watching the Father Damien play. And Ruth and I have had many great conversations about art and plays and all the wonderful projects that are possible. And
so Joseph,
so I'm really
did you meet at that event, or did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's another B16 connection.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was a wonderful show.
Yeah. All right, great. So what was it like for you to play Father McGivney? What was your process like?
Oh, I don't know. I guess finding one thing that I've always, I guess, wanted to make sure that I understood, or to try to understand better, was that the saints, the blesseds, were, you know, just, they're human beings, and I think it's really easy to think about them as superheroes, right? They can do things, well, they're in heaven, you know, or they can do things that nobody else can do, and they had their faults and their failings, and that is what characterizes, I think, this struggle for grace and the struggle for salvation. And I really found a lot of that in this play, that he, in the beginning, he kind of thinks he can do everything, and he realizes that he can't, you know. At some point you gotta leave it in God's hands. So that was a wonderful discovery and journey. And thank you, Ruth, for including me in this project.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Sheriff Bixby, can you speak up and introduce yourself?
David McKee, everyone.
Yeah, David McKee. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm a journalist and ex-actor, a recovering actor who was coaxed out of 10 or more years retirement by Ruth to do this. I couldn't possibly say no to her. So she gave me a few helpful pointers to get me started. And after that, I sort of took to it like a duck to water. I can't speak to the spiritual aspects of the play very well. I'm the representative of the state, obviously, and that's one of the axes of the play, is the conflict between church and state. And so I just had to represent that to the best of my ability.
Well, we so appreciate you being here and sharing your gifts with us. It was a wonderful performance, and so thank you very much. My friend James Murphy, this is his second appearance from Ireland. I don't think it's so late as it was last time, right? What time is it now? Around midnight, or?
Yeah, it's just 20 minutes after 11. So.
Oh, all right. So we're not keeping you up till 3 in the morning, and maybe you can tell us a little about yourself. I mean, I could repeat what you told last time, but we got a lot of new people here. So what would you like people to know about you as an actor?
So as you said, I'm over here in Ireland, so it's it's a very different world sometimes. But I've been working with Ruth for 10 years now, actually. I think it might actually be 10 years today since we did our first performance over in London.
What was that a performance of?
That was the Anubis Gates.
Yeah, that's
at the Worldcon Festival.
Yeah.
That's a Tim Powers novel that
it's a Tim Powers novel that we adapted. Yeah.
And like that, it's been an adventure ever since. As David said, it's impossible to say no to Ruth. And then with the performances here, we did Malcolm and Teresa in September last year, and then Father Damien, and this is the third one. So it's there's always been something interesting that Ruth has picked out that I've always felt a connection to. My brother is named after Father Damien. My family have letters from Mother Teresa, and then this time I suppose the connection for me was the jail element. I used to work in a museum that was set in an old prison, and I think something that I was able to bring to the play from that previous life that I had there was just ordinary people often get forgotten in history, and when you get to see a place like that and see the horrible things that would happen to ordinary people and their experience of it and how they rose above it, it does change you. And it's something I'll always keep with me from that time. And I was glad I was able to bring it to this play.
Oh, that's wonderful, James. Is there anything that you have upcoming that you'd like to share with us that you're doing? Or you
at the moment I'm waiting for a film to be released, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, well, tell us about it.
It's called Dublin Crust, and it's about a revival of a punk band, and I'm playing a very, very inept lawyer who is trying to defend one of the band members.
Wow.
But, I got to work with one of my best friends, and it was a fantastic experience. So we're waiting for that to hit the cinemas now.
Well, we'll certainly look for that, and maybe if you or Ruth could send me some promotional link, I could. A lot of our people would love to see you in a movie after seeing you here on the Zoom stage.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I have Ruth. I have someone saying, Raul is saying, I'd love to have our college Knights of Columbus Council put on this play. Oh. How would we go about getting a copy to do that? I can share a link with everyone if you have thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, email me, and I want to clean up the script just a tiny bit more. Now that these actors, they worked so hard with me to get this script to the place that it's at. And I wanted to point out that actually, even though when Maggie reached out to me, they wanted this to be like a Zoom playlet, it was really like the Holy Spirit was really like, no, put this on stage. So, I mean, it's got full stage directions, and I would love to see it staged. That's one of the conversations Joseph and I keep going back and forth about, because Chip is so young, and I would love to see, especially Knights Councils, but Knights Councils who are connected to a college or a high school, because I feel like having these discussions for young gentlemen.
Ruth, we got to talk about how we can promote this, but I also think I think what people really should be doing in addition to that is having some friends over and doing a reading. I mean, it's really designed so that you could do a reading and then have a discussion. Or a dinner party. I think we could do a lot with this. So we'll put our heads together, and we'll make sure. Now, all of you, when you register, you will be getting the Benedict 16 newsletter. So we'll keep you informed that way. If you hit reply to it, you get my email. So Raul, you can write to me, and I can forward it to Ruth. And I hear it's going to be a little while before she wants to essentially publish this, but she works pretty fast, I would say. So
That's right.
A lot going. Tell us, Ruth, what other project are you working on now that you're really excited about?
What other projects I'm working on? There are a couple. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So at the end of October, I'm actually, there's this opera house in the middle of the California Death Valley Junction. And it had a ballet dancer who she renovated the opera house, and it's only open on special occasions right now, ever since COVID. And we're actually going to do a film premiere there of a film about Edgar Allan, a film based on a short story by Edgar Allan Poe. So, wow. And actually, I guess we're still sealing down the details, so I just kind of let the cat out of the bag, but it's going to be a big Halloween celebration, and we're doing an immersive experience where you'll come to Vegas, we put you on a tour bus, we story tell to you about the ballet dancer, about Edgar Allan Poe, about the opera house, and then you'll go and you'll see the screening, and the opera house is like 100 years old, and then we'll tour bus you back, and the tickets include a hotel room in Vegas. So anybody wants a spooky experience, but
oh wow, meet Ruth and have a spooky experience with Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, come on.
Tell hard.
So again, and then I really hope I get to do another saint for the Benedict Institute.
Well, we got to talk about that.
I love writing plays,
but I would love also to start publishing these works. So
yeah,
we'll probably should have that conversation offline.
Yeah.
Are there any people who would like to make comments or questions? I'm going to put my view on gallery. So if you raise your hand physically, hello, Marcia and Juliana, or you can ask questions in the comments section in the chat box, and
we'll have at them. Ask the actors lots of questions.
Yeah. Or just comments. Anyone want to talk? I know we had one woman, Julianne maybe, who said that her brother was cured by Father McGivney. She's convinced of addiction. So if you want to talk about your relationship with Father McGivney or the Knights, I know we have a number of Knights, not just my own Kevin Kagvinsky. We are coming up to when we promised to end. So let me just double check and make sure I haven't missed questions. We have a lot of people with connections to St. Mary's or to, it was Judith who said that she's convinced Father McGivney was instrumental in helping her brother overcome his drug addiction. We have a new message. What is that? Oh, James' movie is called Dublin Crust. D-U-B-L-N.
Yeah, someone in the chat was asking for the name again. So
yeah, Dublin Crust.
That's terrific. Yeah, we got a lot of people saying they'd like to see the movie, and a crowd, by the way, actors, please take a moment and look at the chat box before you sign off, because there's a lot of applause for you, well deserved. I don't know. I just think this has been a wonderful evening in itself, and that it's going to be part of some more great creative work. And it is recorded, and we do put it up unless I manage to mess up the recording, which happens sometimes. It will go up on our YouTube channel, and we will forward a link to the B16 newsletter, which, as I said, comes from me. And if you have any questions, you just hit reply to that thing, and it will come directly to me. No one intervening. And Caleb Hall is giving us a good way to end. Blessed Michael McGivney, pray for us. There is one question, though. Is there any of you, now we shouldn't, the actors are not all, or even I think mostly practicing Catholics, but Joseph Bissix, I believe, is, because he teaches at the Heights, a Catholic high school. Do you want to say anything more about how you bring your faith into your work as an actor?
Sure. I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm a cradle Catholic, and it's just kind of built in. So you recognize a lot of the language, you recognize the meaning of a lot of the moments, especially the meaning of the Mass, the power of that, of the anointing at the end. So those practical things have a lot of weight. But also, I guess for me, acting is you know, being inside another person's skin, so to speak, and realizing what the doctrines mean in a life. And you know, that plays a play for me as an actor, and Ruth and I have had this conversation too, it's not a sermon, it's not a preaching, it's trying to bring people to life so that we can see what that kind of built-in foundation for someone like Father McGivney, how that comes out. And it doesn't come out explicitly in every single moment, but it has fundamentally just formed his language. There's nothing really that he says that isn't coming from that foundation. And those are the kinds of works that I really enjoy watching and now being in. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again to all of you, and Ruth especially. The Archbishop, in his private message saying he was going to have to sign off, said to give his regards to everyone, but his deep thanks to you. So we hope you join us again, all of you. And thanks again to all of our new visitors from the Knights of Columbus. We hope you stay a part of the B16 community. And we're going to think about how we spread this play and in the future. So God bless you all. Good night. James, I hope you get a good night's sleep. And I hope you come back again. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you.
Another round. Bye-bye.